Welcome to another episode of The Throne Room, produced by TheBiggaPic. And today I have a real treat for you guys. I'm sitting here with my close brother right here, Deacon David Israel, who is a great promoter of the show. He has been responsible for people like Orange Juice Jones and a couple others that you have seen on the show. This is my brother. He completely supports the show, and he's here today. You know,
Shalom, how you doing, family?
peace, brother.
Peace, man.
Yes.
It's been a long time. Shalom.
Absolutely. And I got a real special treat for you guys today. I'm here with the rabbi who have came and sat here with us today to really give us a lot of understanding and knowledge, from their walk of life. And I really respect that you're here today, and I appreciate that, brother, Rabbi Garth.
Yes,
Thank you.
So off top, what I will let them do is to explain to you their different, walks or where they at with the community. And, I'll start with.
Shalom, family. How you doing? My name is Deacon David Israel, Hebrew Israelite, husband, father, community activist, Harlem resident, hopefully the next president. So for the past 6-7 years, I've been the Judaism is a faith. Shout out to my rabbi, Rabbi Adams, Yah, and me, the whole Harlem congregation. We're available online on Sundays. So beautiful faith, though.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Judaism.
Yeah, Judaism.
Yeah, okay. That's peace.
So that's the order.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I'm Rabbi Garth Marchand. However, my Hebrew given name is Gabriel ben Yehuda, son of Yehuda. Right. So basically, we follow in the tradition of Rabbi Winford Matthews.
Rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. In 1919, he founded the Commanders Keepers in Harlem. Right, and so we keeping that tradition alive. Our main rabbi is Rabbi Capus Panay, who is the first cousin of Michelle Obama in Chicago, and we have international board of rabbis where we have organizations all throughout Africa and the Caribbean. We have synagogues throughout there because what we finding out is that we are the Hebrew Israelites. We're not saying anything about white folks or any other folks. We know that we are. And once you believe it, that's what it is.
Are y'all the same as the Hebrew Israelite camps?
No.
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 We don't preach.
Can you explain the difference?
Yes.
So Hebrew Israelite camp started in 1969. Actually started in 1969. The faith go way back then. And some of them preach hate. Yeah, we don't preach hate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hate thing, because see, we don't get into it, and that's why I had dispute even with some of my brothers from the Nation of Islam and everything like that. Who is the original Jew? That's what they say. It's nobody. The original mean we don't look at color, because the religion has no color to it. Some people try to do it that way, but that's not what it is. What makes you an Israelite, what makes you a Jew, is if you believe in the 613 commandments that God gave Moses on Mount Sinai. If you don't believe it, then you're not Jewish.
Yes. If you don't practice the Sabbath, you're not Jewish.
Yes.
If you don't eat kosher, you're not Jewish.
You're not Jewish, right?
Yeah.
So those things, that's what makes you Jewish. So you got a lot of people who claim they're Jewish, but they don't follow that. That means they're not real.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, because as you know, much shout out to Bishop McDaniel. He's been on the show.
Yeah, I know Bishop. He's not a bad brother, but you still you can't preach hate. You got love, because one of the commandments, even in Christianity, what it says?
Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
You love yourself. So how are you going to preach hate?
That's peace to know the difference. So you're not actually camps.
No.
Congregation.
We're congregation, and like for us, we are Orthodox congregation. We follow the Orthodox, because there's different forms of Judaism. You got ultra Orthodox, right? Which are most of those people that you see in up
Around
here,
here.
around here in this community and in Brooklyn and in Israel, the ultra Orthodox. Then you got Orthodox. Then you got Reform Jews. Then you got liberal Jews, right? We're Orthodox, right? We follow the Orthodox method. There's different ways. Yes, Messianic Jews who, they're right, Messianic Jews who believe in Christ, right? Right, so that's, that's the difference,
How did, if you don't mind me asking, how did you personally become a deacon?
So I became a deacon for the work I do in the community, you know what I mean? So I appointed myself as a deacon. Nobody appointed me as a deacon. So the work I do in the community, helping the youth, book drives, coat drives, toy drives, and things of that nature, doing God's work. So
What does deacon mean?
person that's real close with the church. The church, for me, the church is outside in the streets. The synagogue is outside in the streets. For me and Rabbi Adams.
And Rabbi Garth, how did you go about becoming a rabbi?
See, the thing is that rabbi means teacher, right? You don't have to go to a specific school to be a rabbi. So I worked with several rabbis who says, you're a rabbi because you're teaching the people and you're doing God's work. So I didn't really go to a traditional, but I learned with the rabbis who were there. So they basically says, well, you can be that here because you're doing God's work.
Understood. What is the difference between the Hasidic community and the congregation of Yah?
So Hasidic communities means happy ones. People that actually live around this neighborhood is Hasidic. They speak Yiddish. They have certain things they follow from the Talmud. Where they won't touch the switch.
Yeah.
They won't touch certain buttons. Yeah. They won't shake a woman's hand. Yeah. The difference with us, we have different nationalities in our community. We're more hands-on. We're based out of Harlem. Right. That's the difference. Yeah.
Well, there's a difference because some of the people up here in the neighborhood are not Hasidic. There's different sects, is what I'm trying to say. So, for example, I'm part of the Lubavitcher community. How about we're the Grand Rebbe, the one in Crown Heights, and he's buried in Francis Lewis Boulevard in Cambridge Heights, Queens. Now they are not like the Hasidic. So you gotta make a distinction between that. You see what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying there are different areas of Judaism. The Hasidic, for example, I'm telling you, real, they don't believe in the state of Israel.
Yeah, they believe in Palestine, right?
Right? So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Whilst the other dudes we believe Israel is the homeland because God gave us, He changed our name to Israel. And He said that's the land in which you need to go to that I've given you. That's from biblical times. So that's the difference. But the Hasidics don't believe in the state of Israel. Big difference.
So, all right. So, like Bishop McDaniel, how he states that in other Hebrew Israelite camps that we're the real Hebrew Israelites, we're the real Jews, the black people. What is to that?
That's his opinion. It's like being a white Christian or black Christian. Are they real? They're original? Or Muslim? Is he a real original? Is he black?
Yeah, I say no, because it has no color to it. And I'll give you an example. When you do the DNA test for those so-called white Jews or so, these people here, they got 12 to 15% African blood in them.
Hamite.
African blood.
Yeah, Hamite.
None of them, they trace it back to Africa. So who is original? Everybody comes from black folks. Because God, like I was explaining earlier, that we were all made from the black earth. That's how we were created.
This is a good question. So, was Abraham, David, Solomon, Jesus, was they black like me? Or were they...
Well, when we use it, I don't like to say use the word black.
Were they my complexion?
Yes. Right, the complexion, because it's no...
But the nationality was Israelite.
Right. or Israelites, or they were Cushites. The word in the Bible, when you look at it, it says Cush, land of Cush, which means the black land. That's where God gave us the word for the land of Cush. So where is Cush? It's basically in East Africa, right? The Cushites is in Ethiopia, Somalia, what you call it there? Sudan, all those areas in Kenya, Uganda. These are the biblical people. You know what I mean? So yes, right? And Jesus himself, I'm just knowing the story of Yeshua, Jesus, when the King Herod was trying to kill the baby, where did he go?
Into the land of Egypt.
Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Now, when Egypt was known, Ethiopia, Egypt is not the real name.
Right.
The Greeks gave it that name.
Right, that's true. That's true.
The land of Cush.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Where God made it in the Bible. So that's where Jesus went. So if you go to the temple, if you go to the church in Ethiopia, on the wall there you will see a black Madonna with a black baby on there, written in there. Yeah. The Christian church,
that's true,
oldest, is not in Rome.
Yep.
Not in Greek. It's in Ethiopia.
Lalibela.
Right.
Yeah. Axum as well.
And for Axum. And from when Queen Sheba went and had a child with, they know him as Sheba, right? When she went and had a child in Israel with King Solomon gave her the Ark of the Covenant to bring back, and she had the son with him named Melanick.
Yeah.
How did they build that church? Because it's mystery to that church being built, because the church is actually in
underground.
The ground.
Right. Because that's the architecture of African people. They knew how to build. Right? How did we build the pyramids? That's the eighth wonder of the world. Yeah. They knew how to do those things. See, in the old days, right, we had electricity. Because water, they couldn't, back in those days. How do you think they were able to build the skyscraper back in those days? You think they had to have electricity to do that? They built underground. All of the pyramids is an underground city. You think they're going to have underground without lights, without electricity? They knew how to use that. They knew how to use palm oil. How to use palm oil to run the electricity. I'll give you this one story about the Israelites in Nigeria. Right? They call the Igbo people. When they were having the Biafra War, guess what? How they flew the planes to fight. They didn't use the regular, they used palm oil and put it in the plane and flew the plane with palm oil. Yeah. And so the Africans knew how to use palm oil. They had electricity with street lights there where they used the palm oil to run to do lights. Right? Long before America or anybody had no talk about no street lights. You understand? So we had a culture there that was based on the Israelite tradition. Yes. Right? That's established. And we got to go back, if you got to read the story about Sheikh Anta Diop. Right? God bless his soul. A man from Senegal who they couldn't dispute when he did the test of he found out that those pharaohs, even the biblical pharaoh who let the Israelite was an African man, was a black man. His story is that there was nobody in Europe, nobody anywhere in the world except Africa, right? And the black man moved into Europe, moved into Asia, moved into other parts of the world, and their skin color started to change. Because the reason why we are black is because we are a sun people. We needed the thing to protect us against the sun.
The melanin, yeah.
Right? If you take a white person, and you bring them into the Caribbean or you bring them to Africa, they start stripping. They start shedding their skin. Right, but we don't do that. So that's why as soon as they move into Europe, they start to lose their complexion. They become light, and that's how you get white people. They originate from us. So we can't say who is the original, because we all come from the same source. And that's what we have to understand. But white supremacy
Yeah, you're right.
and led us to believe
Right
that this is this, and they're not, and this is that. But I tell them, and when I go into the Lubavitcher community, one of the first things that impressed me is they said, "Come, Rabbi," and we start, all these guys, some of these guys were from Europe, and they said, "We brothers." Right? And I said, "We brothers, okay." And they said, "We are not white and we're not Europeans."
Wow.
And they said, "We are African." We'll get a white Lubavitcher person to say we're African. We can't even get a black person to say we're African.
You won't.
But they will admit to that they're African. And I tell you this one story. I walked up out of the synagogue one day, and this guy with a black hat, Lubavitcher, he walked up to me and he kissed me on both cheeks and said, "My brother." And I said, "Where he from?" He could hardly speak. He from southern France.
Wow.
So they don't look, see, we get into this color thing, that's what have the world divided.
Yeah, divided, yeah.
So we can't say that who is the original. I don't want to, of course everybody is original from blackness, but it evolved.
Yeah.
So those white folks, they claim their blackness too.
I know that they call them Caucasians.
Yes. Caucasoid.
Yeah, and I know that there's a Caucasus Mountain.
Yes.
So how did that take place? Did we as Africans somehow end up in the Caucasus?
Yeah. That's what Sheikh Anta Diop, and nobody could dispute Sheikh Anta Diop theory.
Rest in peace.
Right. They went in, and the Europeans were in the Caucasus Mountain. They were in the caves. Because it got so cold that they went into the caves. They didn't have buildings. They didn't know how to do buildings. So they lived in the caves in Europe, the Caucasus Mountains, to protect themselves against the cold weather, right? And so that's how they evolved that way, right? So they start to change their complexion, right? Because if you as a black man go to Europe, go to Russia, and you stay there, you're gonna lose your complexion, brother.
Yeah, it's cold.
Have you heard the story that the nation of gods and earth speak about Yaqub?
Yeah,
and that Yaqub actually was working on an experiment, and he took them to the Caucasus Mountain.
Yeah, that came from a lot of Muhammad came with that story.
Yeah. But you see that's
those are allegory stories.
Let me show you this. See, when they tell me about Islam, they tell me who's the original. I'm gonna tell you the story. The majority of Muslims are Caucasians in this world. That's facts. The majority of Christians are Caucasians.
Yeah, that's facts.
Look at America. Don't matter what they call themselves, Christians.
But we just said that the church in Ethiopia is the original church. So
right. But
how many Christians are in Ethiopia?
Right, I'm talking about, like, for example, the Christian church based on the Catholic or based on the Protestant. I'm not talking about the black church.
But we have to make that clear. When you say Christian, so many people get that confused. I'm never talking about Roman Christianity. I'm talking about the disciples of Christ.
Exactly.
Because you cannot be a Christian if you're not a disciple of Christ.
Right. So the concept, the first black, I don't know if you know the story of the most famous gospel song. Is the most famous gospel song.
I don't know.
Yeah, right. All right, the famous guy, what's it called there, when a white man wrote the song. He was a captain of a slave ship, right? And he heard those Africans that were chained in the slave ship shouting prayers to God. Yeah. And he said, "He saved a wretch like me." Amazing grace.
Yeah, amazing grace.
How sweet the sound to save a wretch like me. Because he heard the sounds in the slave ship of the slaves calling out to God.
Hallelujah.
Right? That's how it came about. So when the first slaves came to America, the white folks said, "You can't come into our church to worship." That's how the black church came about. Right? And the first black church I went there, is in Savannah, Georgia. Right? It's called the Abyssinia Baptist Church.
Wow.
And when you go to the pews are written in Hebrew because so that the slave master couldn't understand what they were. Just like how Jesus was talking that language, Yeshua, So they did it in Hebrew and it's inscripted because the black person could not go to the church. What kind of God is that you worshiping, right? So for example, most of the black church in America was founded based on the fact that the white folks wouldn't allow them to worship in their own church. Like Bishop Allen in the AME church, right? No, Bishop Allen, he was in Philadelphia,
Okay.
right? And when he went to the church, right, they said you gotta go to the back, right? He went to the Episcopal church, right? So he formed in the African Methodist Episcopal Church and formed his own for his own people. And that's how we develop the real Christ worship.
Yes, and that's good information right there. I didn't know that myself.
Yes.
What's the origin of Judaism?
Well,
Abraham.
right.
So the order is Judaism, Christianity came after, last is Islam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you gotta know the story of Abraham, where when he couldn't bear a child, right? His wife Sarah couldn't bear a child. She gave him a maid's person, an African woman, Ethiopian woman. He gave him, right? She was Ethiopian, Hagar, and she had a child, right? So when they had a child, Sarah got upset because then God blessed her at the age of 90 to have a child, you know, called Isaac, right? So she said, you got to get rid of that child. And Abraham said, no, it's my child. So an angel came on to him and said, you better listen to your wife. So he got rid of them, but he blessed them, he gave them the thing. So when he was in the desert and Hagar there didn't have anything, an angel came on to him and blessed them and gave them everything. And he said, you shall create a mighty nation and you shall worship me, the Most High God. That's Islam.
After his mom cried out to God because she was in the desert and she said, what did they do?
Exactly.
And
right.
If you understand it to it, Ishmael actually became the father of Islam.
Of Islam, right. That's what it is. So that's Abraham's son.
Yeah, Abraham's son.
So technically, right, the father of Judaism is Jacob or Jacob, as we know the name, right? So who was Ishmael? Who was Ishmael? That was the uncle of the father of Judaism.
Yes.
Right? So it's all related. And people don't understand that. This division, it should never be there.
Nah.
Right? Get the Palestinians. You know who the Palestinians are? You know that when in Isaac's wife was having a child, they had twins. Esau and Jacob. But they were at each other's heel. They came out. They were not twins that were born. They came out one. So Jacob, Esau came first.
Yeah.
And God says to
Jacob, I love Esau. I hate
right.
you.
But He said, there shall be two nations in your womb. This is God's own word. There shall be two nations in your womb, and they shall struggle. And the younger brother, the older brother shall serve the younger brother, right? So Esau, the birthright, he sold his birthright, and Jacob stole the birthright.
Yeah.
So Esau technically became the Palestinians, right? So his brother is the father of Judaism. So the Palestinians and the Jews are brothers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't understand all this fighting.
Yeah,
it's unrealistic, and God doesn't like that.
Well, it's kind of clear what the fighting is over. One has been given a promise that the other one haven't.
Right.
So that's where the fighting comes in, right there.
And it was predicted in the Bible. They said there shall be two nations in your womb, and they shall be struggling.
Why did Cain and Abel fight? You know what I'm saying? One of them
jealousy,
had a promise that the other one didn't.
Right.
So it goes all the way back.
Yeah, it goes back to that historical thing. But a lot of people don't look at it in that context. You know what I mean? Because the basic thing of the of religion, of the Judaism and Islam is peace,
Yeah.
right? We say shalom alaikum, they say assalamu alaikum.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Peace unto you.
So peace unto you. So if the main concept of the religion is peace, why are we fighting?
Yeah.
Why are we not creating peace?
Yeah, I agree.
Wow.
What is the Torah?
Man, the Torah.
The 5 books of Moses.
Yeah.
The 5 books of Moses, Genesis, which we call Bereshit in Hebrew. Bereshit, in the beginning. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. That's the Torah.
And that's the big book that you see the rabbi carry inside the synagogue.
Yeah.
Costs about $10,000 to $15,000.
Yeah.
Everybody don't have the Torah.
We read it in the scroll. We read it it's in the Hebrew writing,
yeah.
in the lettering, right, of the Hebrew language. And so we open the scrolls, and the difference is that we follow a text. We don't skip.
Yeah.
So we start from Genesis chapter 1, 2. Next Shabbat, we go to the next one until the end. And it follows the calendar. So we don't skip around. We follow the chronology of it. Right? So that's what the Torah is. And then we got the other part of the Tanakh, which is the rest of the Old Testament. It's called the Tanakh. That's the book of basically of the prophets, right? So Isaiah, you know what I mean? Ezekiel, Malachi, all those, you know what I mean, are part of the Tanakh. And King David, right? Now people don't understand. Who wrote the Psalms? King David, right? Why did he write the Psalms?
The Psalms, the book of prayers.
Because what happened is that there was a struggle in Israel. And King Saul was trying to fight King David to take over. So what happened is that King David sent one of his best friends into battle, knowing that he would die. When he sent him into battle, he took his wife.
You're right.
Yeah.
So he committed a major sin.
Adultery.
Right, taking the other man's wife. So King David wrote because they were always trying to kill him, wrote the Psalms to ask for forgiveness. So that God won't kill you, don't kill me. Forgive me for my sins. Right? Because the longest book in the Bible is Psalms 119. Right? 170-something verses in the Psalms 119. Every verse says, forgive me. Read it. Forgive me for my sins. So technically, when we ask for forgiveness of our sins, it's the Psalms we read.
They need a congregation of 12 to open up the Torah.
Yes.
12 disciples.
That's where the 12 disciples come in, because Jesus himself could not open and preach until he had the 12 men there, the 12 disciples. So sometime he didn't have the 12 men there. He had to wait till he get the 12 men, and then he would start to preach, because that's the Jewish tradition, because Jesus himself was a rabbi.
Yeah, Jewish rabbi.
He was a rabbi. So he followed the instructions that God gave him. You got to have 12 men on the bima to open up the book and read it in Hebrew.
Every Sabbath.
Yes. Every Sabbath, or even when you're saying regular prayers or whatever like that, or regular teaching, you gotta have the 12 men around. I gotta have 12 men around me in order for me to open up the prayer book.
Yeah. You have so many people out there that say, the Bible is just written by man. Man just wrote the Bibles. Who wrote the Torah?
Well, it was God. God gave instruction to Moses.
Just like the Bible.
He gave instructions. I'll give you an example. What man was there when God created the animals and created man? No man. So God gave the instructions. That's why Moses went up into Mount Sinai. That's why he took so long, because God gave him the chronology of how he did the creation story. Matter of fact, Genesis, according to the Hebrew, is not the first book, because no man was there to observe who was making man. Right? There's no man there to observe that, right? So it's actually almost one of the last books, because then God was instructing Moses how we created mankind, the instructions that he was given. Right? God gave it up into Mount Sinai, because that's why you have the burning bush, because you can't see God. If you see God, you die.
Yeah.
Right? So he spent all that time up there getting the instructions from God.
Very interesting.
And God wrote on the stones, wrote on his hands the commandments on the stones, the tablets. So it's not man that wrote it, it's God.
Who are the Pharisees?
Pharisees
Pharisees,
is,
the group of Jews that hated Yahshua, you could say.
yeah,
Some people may
all
call
right.
them hypocrites.
So you understand
Yeah.
that they were Jews that they in certain Judaism, you got the Babylonian Talmud and the Jerusalem Talmud.
Yeah.
They were following Talmud, right? Which is man's written law,
Yeah, it is. Man.
not God's written law interpretation. So Jesus was saying to them, you can't tell me to follow man's law.
Right.
We got to follow God's law.
Yeah.
That's why he said to us to pray, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, not according to what you all are saying. And what happened is that the Pharisees and the Sadducees,
Yeah.
they were doing the dirty work for the Romans, and collecting taxes and collecting money in the synagogue, which Jesus came and turned the money table over. Because you're not supposed to do that there. Jesus was a real righteous man that was following God's laws. And he objected to them. Right? So when they say Jews crucified Jesus, they never, that's a lie.
The Romans did.
The Romans did. Because
the Jewish crucifixion and threw stones.
They're stoning to death.
And the Romans put you on the cross.
On the cross.
Hang you.
Hang you. A cross is hanging. That's why you see in America, when they hang black people, what do the white supremacists and the Ku Klux Klan do?
Applaud, laugh.
They burn their cross.
Yeah.
Because that's the way the white supremacists and the Europeans did to kill people. Yeah. Hang you on the cross and then burn the cross. Understand? So people have to understand that.
Yeah.
That is not is a symbol, because that's what all Jesus was about, of fighting that oppression. Right? And he basically saved Israel.
Yeah.
When you talk about the Savior, right? Yeshua.
Yeah.
In Hebrew, it means basically Savior, Redeemer.
Redeemer, yeah. Christ means anointed one. It's a title, not a name.
Yeah. Yes, right. So we follow all of that. I understand that. I'm not against Christianity because it's a religion of God, except that it's polluted by the Europeans. Understand? It's polluted by them. Right, to use it as a white supremacist thing. Look what's happening in America now with the white evangelistic church.
Oh yeah.
Right? They're doing all these things that's ungodly. Yeah. Right? And they're controlling the politics. We're not supposed to be involved in the politics of everything and follow any man. Follow God.
Yeah.
Again, Christianity and Christian, two separate things. You know what I'm saying? The people that are Christian are disciples of God. You can't even be a Christian unless you're Christ-like. Yes. Christianity, the religion, was something that came from Constantine when he was at war with those Christians that he couldn't overcome because death did not mean anything to them. They was gladly giving over their life because they became under a different mindset that was given to them from their leader prior to that. Right. So Christian and Christianity is two different things. Right. I think that we should always be careful how we go into speaking that, because there are people out here that are really Christian. Right. You know what I'm saying? And they really give their life to the Lord and really do that. And we don't want to slander.
No, we're not slandering. Nobody's slandering, but that's why I'm saying we're talking about the white supremacy that they use that. Because in the beginning, like I was explaining to you before, that the white folks prevented us from worshiping in the church,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
I understand.
So therefore, I'm not talking about. I mean, a Christian who most of our people follow is the real thing.
Okay. The Judaism that you practice, is it the same Judaism that they practice in the scriptures?
Yes.
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 Because in order for you to be Jewish, you have to follow the
Lord.
Torah.
Yeah.
And the 10 commandments,
613 commandments.
613 commandments and laws that we have to follow, right? And some people say, well, that's a lot of laws you got to follow.
Yeah.
But if we violate any of them, then we ask for forgiveness. That's why we go to the Shabbat.
Yeah.
And we have a thing, it's called the Siddur, right? Where we say a prayer for everything. So we say prayers 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Right? The morning prayer when we wake up, there's a certain prayer for the morning. The midday prayer for the midday, and before we go to bed at night. So each one of them, we ask him for forgiveness for whatever sins we have committed and violated the law. We have to follow those concepts. If you don't follow those concepts, then you're not Jewish.
Yeah, right on.
So you would say that you follow the rituals of the Torah?
Yes.
Yes.
All of the holy days.
We celebrate the 7 holy days.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you explain to me the difference between the doctrine of man and the commandment of God?
Well, the doctor and man, a lot of them, like my synagogue, the doctor and man, they basically give 10% of your offerings. We give apples and oranges.
Oh.
That's the difference.
Well, you see, the people don't understand. Even because one of the 613 laws that God gave man, he said you must give 10% tithes and offering to the storefront, right? That says it, and you must add a fifth to it, right?
Charity.
So why a lot of Jews? Why you see most Jews they give to charity?
Yeah.
Each one of them. I'll give you an example. I'll be using him, Mayor Bloomberg, right? He gives the 15% to charity all the time. So like he was worth $60 billion. Every year he gives $6 billion or more to charity of his own money. And God says, when you do this is in the book of Numbers, one of the commandments. He says, when you do this, I will bless you abundantly with more.
Yeah.
So when you give like that, you get more.
Yeah.
And that's every Jewish person believe that. That's why there's a lot of poor Jews, but those Jews give money. That's why you see all the Jewish hospitals, all the Jewish institutions. It's not because it's because the people contribute their money for the tithes and offerings.
Yeah.
Right? So like in the synagogue, we use the tithes and offerings, for example, to help somebody if they have a problem with their mortgage or their problem with rental. We use those tithes and offerings to make sure that they get the help.
Yeah.
Understood. I like that too.
Yes.
What defines a Jew?
The way you carry yourself.
And Torah follow.
And the way how you treat his neighbor.
Right. And the Torah follow.
Yeah.
In order for you to be a Jew, you have to accept. You got to follow all the laws, and you got to do all his commandments, and you got to do all of the seven holidays or the days that God tell you.
High holidays.
High holidays. Passover. If you don't do Passover, you ain't a Jew.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
If you do Yom Kippur, you ain't a Jew.
Yeah.
Can we eat pork?
No,
that's not kosher.
That's one of the commandments. See, people got to read the Bible.
No crabs, no seafood.
Right. See, so in Leviticus chapter 11, God tells you what you shall eat and what He commanded you. You shall not eat the pork. You shall not eat any animal that they chew the cud. Yeah. Right? He tells you what to eat and what not to eat. And you shall not eat any shellfish. Yeah. Right? He said these are unclean to you. Yeah. You shall not eat anything unclean. These are commandments that are in the book that we must follow. So if you don't follow that, then you're not a Jew. You know, I can't come in the synagogue and eat pork, I'm unclean. So then I can't go into the synagogue. It tells you that if you're unclean, you cannot come into God's kingdom.
Even if you go to a funeral, you can't go to the synagogue really.
Right, because you're unclean.
You're unclean. The next day.
For 7 days, you're unclean.
Can't
So if
go.
I come to the thing there, I have to miss.
Yeah.
This is not because God, it says I'm unclean. And that is also one of the commandments. It's in the book of Leviticus. I can't quote the chapter exactly, but then it says you must anoint your head with
oil.
With hyssop.
Hyssop.
Right?
Yeah.
After you go to the funeral and you see the body.
Yeah.
Right? Or else you're unclean. You could be unclean forever.
Yeah.
If you don't anoint your head with hyssop. That's one of the commandments in the Torah.
Yeah. What's the meat and dairy thing?
Right. Now the meat and dairy is the fact that in the olden days when God wrote this, there was no refrigeration, right? So milk would spoil. If you milk a cow and you let it sit there, after less than a day it's spoiled. Right? So that's why God said don't mix it.
Don't mix it.
Because it could kill you. It becomes poisonous when you drink the milk. But today is a difference because when you milk the cow, you refrigerate it, it don't spoil, so you can drink the milk. So that's the olden days of saying you don't mix. And you don't in the Jewish faith, you don't mix the dairy with the meat.
Yeah.
The Hasidics still do that.
That's part of the tradition, which they have not changed.
Yeah, all Jews do that.
Yeah, they have not changed.
That's Hasidic.
Right. So that these are rules that we have to follow, and that's in the commandments. So we strictly abide by it.
Yeah.
Who exactly is Jesus the Christ?
Yeshua HaMashiach.
Yeah, Yeshua HaMashiach. So in the days of Jesus, he was a rabbi.
Yeah, Jewish rabbi.
And he was teaching to the Israelites, right? The way. So that's what he was. And he came there teaching the people that don't follow those Sadducees and Pharisees because they're not following the Father. He said his Father who art in heaven, as all be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. So he was teaching them to follow God's law.
Yeah.
Because when you read Matthew chapter 5, the Sermon on the Mount, I suggest people to read the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus said, I did not come to change the laws of the prophet Moshe. I came to fulfill them. He says, not one letter of the law shall change. Not one, until everything is accomplished.
Yes.
This is in the New Testament. Yeah. I read that all the time, and I tell people, I said, look, this is what he said. So what happened was that because of the circumstances of people worshiping idols and not following God's law, right, then it became a situation where Jesus was saving the Gentiles.
The non-believers. Yeah.
The non-believers to say you got to follow my Father's way. So that's what he was.
So, as he even said to one of his own disciples, who do you say I am? Do you say I am a teacher? Yes. Do you say I'm the Son of God? Right. Do you say I'm God? What is your take on that? Who is Jesus the Christ? Was he just a man?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a man that came to fulfill, because like a prophet, I mean, I believe that throughout the Old Testament, there are different prophets that come at certain times to help the people get back to God, right? To see God's way. That's what Jesus was.
A prophet?
Because technically, because of the simple fact that, I mean, this is my opinion, not something, but because the people were straying from God. They were worshiping idols. They were worshiping money. That's why you see in the book of Matthew, it says, Jesus said, you shall not worship God and money. Right? Mm-hmm. But you shall worship the one God.
Yeah, the God of Israel.
Right. So he was a person that was saying that he's the Son of God or whatever it is. He was saying that he came to fulfill the Father. Right? And he has to get people to understand who God is. Yeah. Right? And that's who we have to follow. and not to follow some image.
So he was just a man. There was no existence.
But he was a
There
he was a special man.
before birth.
He was a special man, just like Ezekiel, Obadiah, all those prophets that came, and King David. They came to save the world from evil.
But no existence before birth.
Huh?
No existence before birth.
No. See, that's the difference in the sense that, you know, the story of the...
It's an allegory story.
It's an allegory story. Most of the stuff in the Bible is allegory. You have to understand how to interpret it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even the story about Jesus feeding the multitudes with two fish.
Right.
That's not that's an allegory story. Basically, what he meant was that when you have things that the people who don't have, you must feed them. So he said using two fish is an allegory to say I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Not that he served that he fed people with two fish, or that he walked on water. You know what I mean? So it's an allegory story to tell you the power of God.
Yeah.
That you believe.
So raising of the dead, same thing, right?
Same thing.
Yeah. Samson holding up buildings.
Got you.
Yeah.
So
but you gotta believe.
Yeah, but it's a life lesson. Yeah, everything in life lesson.
Everybody has to believe it.
So who created existence?
Of who?
Existence.
The Most High God.
Yeah, we going to Israel.
The Most High God, because He's the creator of. There's only one King. We say this prayer: Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'eleko olam. Blessed be the Lord thy God, King of the universe. One King, Ekat, one King. No other king but Him.
Yeah,
right. So that's why we look at it that way.
So when we have the Torah, which is basically what we would consider the Old Testament.
Yes.
So,
but the 5 books.
No, 5 books.
Yeah.
5 books, not the whole Old Testament.
I understand.
Yes.
But so you would say that the New Testament is not correct. Obviously not real, right?
No, I never. No, nobody's saying that. Come on, how can you say that?
But the New Testament said that Jesus made the world.
Well, that's their interpretation.
Yeah, that's one of the interpretations.
Because He wasn't there in the beginning. That when God created the heavens and the earth.
It says that in John, actually, that He was there in the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God.
Well, in the beginning was the Word.
And they said that Jesus was the Word.
No, what he was saying, what he's saying is that the King of the universe is the one that created the earth, heaven and the earth, and Jesus came to fulfill that. So that's what that's meant.
The New Testament says all things was made for Him, by Him.
By God, by the Most High.
It's talking about Jesus.
No. That's I mean, realistically,
it's by their own interpretation.
It's by the interpretation. You got because all the Bible is an oratory story. Allegory. You cannot read the Bible directly and read it to what it means. It's an oratory story.
It's not a comic book. It's for you to learn a lesson.
Yeah, and I can show you parts of the Bible that is very sexual, but they said it in a nice way. So you don't want to make it an opinion. You got to read between the lines. Yeah, you know what I mean.
So let's talk about the story of Adam.
Yeah.
Was Adam the first man, or
no?
Another Adam story?
Well, there was life before. See, this story of Adam and Eve is a Jewish story of the Jewish creation of mankind.
That's facts.
Right, that's factual. Yeah. Right? It had nothing to do with Gentiles or any other body, because they were the story of the Old Testament and the story of Genesis is only 5,000-6,000 years old. Yeah. Man lived before that.
Yeah, a billion years.
Right, long before that. Yeah. Right? The story of the Old Testament is the story about the Hebrew Israelites, nobody else. Mm-hmm. Right? So let's get that very clear. Right? So the thing is that the Adam is not a man. Mm. Adam means mankind, which means Adam is both male and female. Interpretation.
Interpretation.
Because the word Adam is not how you read it in English. Adam is a Hebrew word.
Yeah.
Hebrew, which means from the black earth.
Yeah.
God created us from the earth. That's when you die, what we say,
go back
ashes to ashes, and dust to dust. You go back to where God created you from.
Yeah.
And your soul belongs to God after that. Yeah. It stays with God, but your body goes back to where it was created.
Right.
So what would we say when we read in the Bible that Eve was the mother of all living?
No,
That's
because like people don't know it.
But that's his
It was taken
though.
out. It was taken out of context in the Bible. Yeah. The first story of Adam, a woman, was Lilith, right? The first woman was born. If you look at the instructions, you will see that there, right? And she had an argument with Adam. Why you gonna control me? Why you have to be on top of me every time? Why you gotta, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And she, is it the Bible?
No, but that's his
interpretation.
That's interpretation of the rabbis when they look at it. Yeah. So she left Adam and had two children with him, and she left and went away. That's why they made the woman in the olden times the witch, right? They made women evil. Yeah. So at the time, Lilith came back. God sent the angel to retrieve her. He came back. She came back to Adam, and that's when she saw Eve. And then she went, the snake, stole Adam's seed.
Yeah, you said that.
And had children with him again, and she left him again. That's why she's written out of the Bible. There's another person that's written out of the Bible. Who is the first prophet? First prophet is who?
First prophet.
Ethiopian man.
Oh, my man Melchizedek.
No. Shucks. And he wrote a book in the Bible that took him out of the Old Testament.
Oh man.
He had several books. He was the first prophet. And he didn't die a natural death. God walked him into heaven. There are two people in the Bible that God walked into heaven. No, Elijah was one. And
Melchizedek.
No. Oh man, he's an Ethiopian man. That's how we know that the African people were there in the beginning of the Bible. See a lot of the versions of the Bible, they took blackness out of it, right? Like the King James version. If you read the Hebrew Bible, it will tell you that the people were black. You know what I mean? But in the Bible, and let me show you the story how we know that Moses and all those people were black, right? Because when Moses had a stutter. He couldn't. So that's why he had to have Aaron there helping him with the staff to talk for him. But he was learning. So what happened was, he says, Adam. He said, Moses, what you got in your hand? He says, I got a staff in my hand. He took the staff. He said, throw it down. He says,
Enoch.
Enoch was the prophet, right? Enoch. Now remember. Ethiopia. So he said, so it turned into a snake. He said, pick it back up and put it in your hand. But they say they don't believe that one because the Egyptians could do the same thing. They could. They had their magicians that could do the same thing. They said they don't believe this one. He said, put your hands in your bosom. This is in the Bible.
It's in the Bible, yeah.
Take your hands out of your bosom, and it shall turn as white as snow, or leprosy, as white as snow. When you put it back in your bosom and you take it out, it shall turn back to his color. If he was white, why would he turn him white?
Right.
Because the people seen that God changed a black man to white,
right,
and then changed him back to black.
And the Mormon church, they got that in the Bible too.
And he also threw down the rod, and his rod ate up all the other snakes. Right. But I'm saying that's the miracle of it, because the Egyptians had their own thing. See, I'm being realistic.
All right.
Right? Because I went to Egypt, I went into all those places before any commandments that was written. Right. And I'm being real. Truth shall be seeking. The Egyptians had the concept of the first laws and commandments. And some of the commandments that we write as Christians and Jews came from the Egyptians, called Ma'at. The
The
42 negative
laws.
confessions of my act.
Yeah.
Right? And guess what? Moses knew those laws.
So he was
because he was because they made him king of the court of Israel, of Egypt. The Pharaoh gave him that authority. So he knew. So why did Moses flee? Because he saw Egyptian man beating up an Israelite and he killed
you're right.
the Egyptian.
Yeah, he did.
So he had to run away because under the Egyptian law, thou shalt not kill. He would have been hung for the dead. So he went away to Midian, and he stayed there for 40 years. When he came back, the Pharaoh that was looking for him had already died, so they knew him not.
Yeah.
Right? And then that's when he came and gave the law. God said, "Release my people, let my people go."
The Pharaoh at the time that was Pharaoh then was the one he was raised with.
Yes, right.
All right. So, what would you guys say the origin of sin is?
Origin of sin?
The origin of
sin. Where it came from?
The origin. Now people are saying about the Adam and Eve not following God's will.
Not following God's law.
Right. So that's technically the first sin, but that's not really the sin. When you disobey God's laws, that's sin. Right? So that's why we say we have to follow the 613 commandments. Because if you violate them, you have committed sin. It's a violation of God's law. That's what sin is.
And according to the Bible, when God told them not to eat from the forbidden tree, that wouldn't be the first violation that they committed.
Right, because that's a story.
That's a story.
That is an X-rated story, right? Because
it's an X-rated story, though.
It's an X-rated story, but they couldn't put that in the Bible because the Bible said, "What kind of story is that?" Right? It's an X-rated story for them not having sex if they're not married. So that's what happened. They went and violated God's law that you shall not do that. Blah, blah, blah. That's the first sin. One of the biggest sins is don't commit adultery. Fornication and adultery. That's what happened. That's the first sin. And that's why God threw them out of the Garden of Eden.
For having sex.
Without marriage.
Without marriage.
Not just having sex, brother.
Not just having sex.
Having sex without marriage.
Without marriage.
Who's going to marry them?
They're supposed to, because they're supposed to get married according to God's will. Right?
These are all life lessons, y'all.
These are lessons that you're not going to...
What is death?
All right, debt.
I like that one.
Yeah, what's debt? So that when God wants to take your debt, right? So debt is that, again, our body goes back to where we were created back in the ground. But our soul remains with God. And if you're good, if you do good, then you go to the Garden of Eden. That's where God created the Garden of Eden for. Right? And then your soul is forever. You do not die. You die in the physical body of death, but your soul is alive. Right? And so we say one day, when we die and we're good, we go there into the Garden of Eden, we're going to see our relatives again. Right? And when the day comes, we'll all be resurrected. That's the resurrection. We all want to be resurrected. In the day when, like Christian believe, when Christ comes.
No, you can't lie, brother.
No, but I'm just saying it's real. That's the real story.
Is there hell?
No.
The hell is what you make it.
There's no hell in heaven. People say, "Oh, heaven up there." You know what's up there, brother? If you go up there, it's the universe. It's forever, eternally. If you go up there, you die. So why would you go to a place that you're gonna die again? Right? Because if you know the planes, if you go up higher, you see the astronauts go up there. They gotta put on suits. If you go up there, you're burned to death. The universe up there. So heaven ain't up there, right? So heaven is right here on earth. Hell is right here on earth. If you do good, you live a good life, God will make you live a heavenly life. Right? If you do bad, you're going to get hell right here on earth. That's what the concept of heaven and hell is. Right? So righteous people, or you're doing good, you believe in Christ, you do what Christ tells you to do, you're going to be living a heavenly life right here on earth.
You do bad, you go to prison.
You do bad, you go to bad, you're going to be going to prison, you're going to have hell. You know?
What is the lake of fire?
Huh?
The lake of
What
fire.
is the lake of fire?
The lake of fire is again another concept of the fact of the matter is that if you do evil, right, you're going to have hell. Hell is a concept of fire. So you're going to live a fiery life here on earth. You will never see the Garden of Eden. Your soul ain't going to go there. It's going to go in the lake of fire. Right? So you will never be resurrected.
Is there any redemption for sin?
Yes.
Yes, repentance.
Repentance.
Repentance is the key.
Right. So in the Jewish book, that's why we have the Siddur. It's called a Siddur, the prayer book. So there's a prayer, like I said, for 3 prayers a day. Right? We say the prayer in Islam. They say 5 prayers a day.
Yeah, to the moon.
But it's scheduled prayer. So you're asking for redemption. You're asking for forgiveness, right? And the Most High says, when you do that, I will forgive you, right? So that's what it is. So we have the Siddur book. I have a copy here, but there's a prayer for every occasion in the Siddur, right? So when we ask him for forgiveness, we say that prayer. Right, so I'm going to surprise you about these Lubavitcher Jews. You know what they say the first prayer in the morning?
What?
Besides thanking you, Lord, for breathing breath into my nostrils this morning and waking me up to see another day. Thank you, Lord, and He will bless you for the rest of the day and see you through. But thank you, God, that you didn't make me a white person.
Yeah.
Listen, I bring you the book. I'll show it to you.
I ain't see that book yet, so I can't.
I'll show it to you.
I can't confirm that.
Because he said we not, the word is Gentiles. Gentiles means white people, Europeans. That's who the Gentiles are.
I ain't see the book yet.
You understand? So the thing is that they say that prayer. And that's why when I go there to do the Lubavitcher and help them out, they say, you my brother. So when you put race in front of you, that's where we have problems.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
In America, here, we're raised in the spirit of Father's Day, which is we are upon now.
Yes.
What would you say the father's role is in the home?
Well, for me, protect, provide, and lead. Yeah, the father.
And I agree with that.
And rest in peace to my father as well. He's not here.
So in Hebrew, we say Abba.
Yeah.
So we honor all our fathers, even though they're not my physical father. When God said, honor thy father and thy mother, it don't mean my physical father. You are my father because you are my Abba. Right? So we have that responsibility to honor those, right? And for the mothers, we call them what? Ima. Ima. So when I see an older person, I say, hi, my Ima. Or you will say, hey, my Abba. Because that's how that's the role. It's a family role, right? It says it takes a village to raise a child. That's what we mean by that, right? So it's not just my physical, because a lot of us, we never had a father. I didn't grow up with no father.
No, I did too.
You know what I mean? So the extended family was my, so that's the role of the father. The people in the village becomes my father.
Yeah.
Right. I agree with that. What is your position with Israel versus Palestine war?
Wow.
Well,
we talked this earlier, right?
Yeah, well, that's a deep one. See, because of the simple fact that the Palestinian issue is an issue. First of all, let's say the land. The land was from biblical times, was given to the Israelites, right? The Palestinians still have claimed they weren't there. The Palestinians never During the biblical times, there was no Palestinian. There was none of those people that existed. Matter of fact, Islam was not really commissioned until Prophet Muhammad, God bless his soul, right? May peace be upon him. Only invented Islam during the year 600 AD.
AD.
Right. Almost 600 years after Christ. That's what he did. But Israel was there long before that. Christ was there long before that. Israel was there. Jerusalem was there.
The people.
So there was no.
Jerusalem.
There was no. As a matter of fact, the Persian Empire is the one that came and created that, and they established it with England, was a colonial power, and caused the division. Right now, the problem in Palestine or in Israel is the fact that Israel is not an American form of democracy. It's the British form of democracy. You see in England now, they got to call a new snap election, right? So the people don't vote for the leader, the prime minister. The party votes for the prime minister. So whoever gets the majority of the votes in the Knesset, no Israeli government has been ever getting a majority, not one. So they have to form a coalition because in Israel, it's what you call it, the proportional representation. So I could get only 15% of the votes, and I get a seat in the Knesset, proportionally. So the parties that form the coalition with Netanyahu are the minor parties, and they what? The Messianic Jews. They're Jews from America and from England, but they're Messianic.
They're like 1%.
Right. And so therefore, they want the Palestinian land because where's the West Bank?
Right, you're right.
That's where most of the holy Christian, Bethlehem, Galilee, Mount Moriah, all those are in the West Bank. So they want to build settlements on the West Bank. So they're telling Netanyahu, if you don't do that, we're going to have a vote of no confidence and he's out as prime minister. That's how the system works. So you think Netanyahu want to lose prime ministership? He's doing the bidding of those people in the conservative wing of his government, right? And if he loses the election, then he will be in prison because they have the Israeli Supreme Court has a case against him for corruption. Right? So that's why you see that's happening. Prime Minister Netanyahu funded Hamas. Listen to this. This is not something that is not documented. And the reason why he was doing that is because there are two factions of the Palestinians. The West Bank is being controlled by the Palestinian Authority. The old PLO and the Arafat, that's their group. And Hamas, Israel allowed them to give up Gaza and allowed them to have an election. And Hamas won the election against the Palestinian Authority so they wanted to play one against the other by funding Hamas, thinking that they would get rid of the Palestinian Authority out of the West Bank. We gotta understand the politics of it. It's political, not religious. So the Jewish people, I hear all this stuff about the river to the sea. You know what the river to the sea means?
What?
Means no Christians, no Jews. All the Christian sites will be eliminated. So don't look at the Jews and say, oh, it's those Jews. It's also Christians. Because most of the holy sites of Christianity is in Israel. All the holy sites where Jesus and all that stuff walk, Israel. So the river to the sea, you drive the Christians and the Jews out of Israel and get rid of them. People have to understand that. It's not just about the Jews. Right? And so therefore we have to have that understanding. The majority of the people in Israel, the Jewish people, are for the Palestinians. Look what's happening in Israel right now. Over 1 million Jews in Israel demonstrating against Netanyahu.
In America too.
Right, but in Israel, we talk about the Jewish people in Israel. And there's a diversity in Israel. People say, apartheid state. 20% of the population, citizens of Israel, are Arabs, Muslims, live in East Jerusalem. And they vote in the Knesset. They have seats in the Knesset. What kind of apartheid?
Wow.
There's nowhere else you have that. Not one of the Arab countries you have any kind of stuff like that. And they got blacks in the Knesset, Ethiopians in the Knesset. The head of the Israeli Air Defense Force, I don't know if she's there anymore, but she's an Ethiopian woman that trained the Air Force, the IDF.
Yeah, but the Israel. Yeah.
Right, and we have a black Hebrew Israelite, which we are related to, the Village of Peace in Dimona.
Yeah.
They not only practice Israelites, but they also believe in Christ. They do both, and they
try
every one of their young people when they turn 18 have to
defend.
Have to go join the force. You know, Hamas killed 10 of them. These black Jews was in the jail. People not looking at the historical thing about that. We lost 10 of our people.
They came from Chicago, right?
And I'm affiliated with the Hebrew Israelites in Israel. We had an old city called Dimona.
Yeah,
Look it up, Dimona.
Dimona.
And they're in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem.
1969, they went from Chicago to over there.
Chicago, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and New York.
Yeah.
They went there and said, this is our homeland.
Yeah.
So we got, Israel is a diverse, only 30% of Israel is so-called white Jews, or 30%. A lot of the Jews in there are people of color.
That's what I would expect.
Yes. So how is it an apartheid state?
You're right.
And we in the Knesset. And we in the IDF. A lot of the blacks are in the IDF.
What does anti-Semitic mean?
Right.
That's a good strong word.
That's a word. Like they would say, if I support the Palestinians, I'm anti. How could I be anti-Semitic?
If I say, because a lot of bad habits that a lot of black people do say sometimes is that Jewish mother effer. Because the guy is white. They assume he's Jewish.
Yes.
They say, oh, he's anti-Semitic.
Right.
But Semitic means the Horn of Africa, actually.
Right. Well, the anti-Semitic is because of the history of the Jews, where they've been persecuted wherever they go. Yeah. Right. So by talking about the Jews, it comes out to be anti-Semitic, right? Because they use that as the program.
If I burn this right now, it's anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Right. So the reason why I'm wearing this is what I call a talif. It's a prayer shawl that we say prayer all the time. This is what we do for forgiveness, right? So I wear this to ask God, if I do any evil, forgive me. So we wear all of this here as a prayer shawl all the time. And they're actually 613 threads in here, and it can never be broken.
No. These are fringes.
The Lord, never be broken. You can't, unless you take a scissors, but you can't break it.
These are fringes right here.
Right.
I keep the laws and commandments.
The laws and the commandments is what reminds me. So when I wear this, it reminds me never to ever break God's commandments. And that's what keeps us holy.
And you also wear fringes too, right?
Yeah, we wear fringes, yes. We wear fringes. I didn't wear fringes today, but you can wear this. You can wear this in lieu of the fringes, right? I do that. You're supposed to only wear this during the Shabbat service, but I wear it almost every day because I'm saying my prayers for peace. You know what I'm saying? So it's a thing where it's not a religion.
Right.
It's a way of life
relationship
for those who grasp it.
Yeah.
It tells you how to live.
Yeah.
That's what makes you Jewish.
Yeah.
Right? You got to do good. You got to take care of your neighbor. Like Jesus said, take care of the stranger, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
The poor.
You got to take care of the poor.
Does Semitic have anything to do with the sons of Shem?
No, all right. The antis, yes, well, not really, but all of us are Semitic, basically. See, people don't understand. You got to understand the history, and it's in the Bible, but not explained.
Okay.
Right? When they say Joseph came into...
Joseph.
Joseph, but they always Joseph. They wouldn't know Joseph. Right? Because it's a Y instead of a J. But Joseph, as you know, came in... They sold him, his brothers sold him into slavery, right? Into Egypt. The people who ruled Egypt were Semitic people. from the land of Israel. They came in and they conquered Egypt. They called the oh shucks now. The name escaped me, but they were there. So they allowed Joseph to be the ruler in Egypt because he was like them. They were a different form of Semitism. They weren't Hebrew Israelite, but they were a Semitic people, right? So they allowed him to rule. Then when the pharaohs from Nubia, the black pharaohs came in and conquered them, they drove them out. Hyksos, right? They drove them out, right? And the black Hebrew, the black pharaohs went all the way to Iraq, to Israel, and they conquered it as a black nation, right? And so they decided that the reason why they were putting the Israelites into slavery is because they were afraid that the Hyksos would join up with the Semitic people and overthrow them. That's why the Pharaoh put them in slavery, right? And that's why when Moses came, right, they also made him king of the thing because the Pharaoh knew him because the Pharaoh was black and he was black. So they didn't look at him as they look at him as an Egyptian. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So he made Moses head of the court of the court. So Semitic people is a misunderstanding of what that is. You understand what I'm saying? So people use it as a way. So the reason why you find this whole thing is because the Zionism is a nationalistic term. Have nothing to do with Judaism. It's a nationalistic thing because in Europe, we got a thing called a pogrom, where all those countries would kill the Jews and abuse them and break up their shop. So they had a nationalistic idea that we're going to build a nation so that we won't be going through the pogrom no more, or the Holocaust. Right? Well, it wasn't the Holocaust then because Zionism was invented by a guy named Hercos. Right. That back in the 18 something. So he formed a nationalist idea so that it became a thing where it become anti-Semitic if you were fighting against Jews to say that we could do the pogrom. If you know what the pogrom is, it was where they would go into the Jewish ghetto. Most Jews lived in the ghettos. Yeah. In Europe. Ghetto is the Hebrew word anyway. Yeah. And they would come in there and they would smash up their stores and they would burn their houses down. So they created this thing and to fight against anti-Semitism because the pogrom was anti-Semitic. Right? So a Semitic people, Jews are not the only Semitic people. True. Right? So that's why that came about. So it's a way of protecting the people. And it's a way of life for those who grasp it. It's not a political movement. Zionism is a political movement, not a religious movement.
Understood. Do you guys vote?
Yeah. I vote in every election.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm running the election this year.
I vote, I donate, I campaign.
So there's no issue with that?
Because God says, He told us. See, people don't read the Torah Bible. It says that we shall participate in any government in the land we will live. So that's one of our responsibility. Because if you don't participate, then that's where anti-Semitism come into play. Where the land in which you live, you must participate in the activities of that country. You understand? So we got to vote.
My late mother came from the South. She signed me up 18 years old. Make sure you get involved. Make sure you vote.
Yes.
40, 50 years ago, we wasn't allowed to vote.
Yes.
Women, all people of color. Yeah.
No people of color.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I'm someone who's watching this platform right now and I want to reach out and I want to be, get in contact with you guys and be, learn more and study more and, become a walker of life, how would I get in contact?
So you can reach me on social media, Robert Phil Jackson on Facebook, R Jackson 12A on Instagram, Lincoln Robert Phil Jackson. or blackjews.org.
Yes, we have a website, blackjews.org. You go to blackjews.org, you will see all of our platforms on there, blackjews.org, right? And we welcome anybody. You don't have to, anybody can walk into and be welcome. We don't try to convert you. There's no such, we don't try to convert and try to change your ways. No. We just try to say this is the way of life, we grasp it. You know what I mean? So if you come to us and we have food, we serve you kosher food, and we say this is the way you gotta, you know what I mean? So we don't force it on you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
For those who don't know, kosher food means a rabbi prayed over it before it happens.
But it's not just praying about it, it's the way to kill the animal.
Kill the animal as well.
So the way we kill, just like Islam. In Islam it's called halal, right? Halal. So the way it becomes kosher is that when we kill the animal, we hang the animal upside down, and we kill the animal instantly so they don't suffer. We take and then slip the coat, and then the blood drains out. You cannot. God said, don't eat blood. So part of the problem, the reason why there's a lot of black people, we got all these diseases is because we eating the blood and the meat. Right? So that's why we do that kosher wise so that we won't get sick.
I know, I'm not saying I'm there yet. I'm a work in progress, but I haven't ate any, beef, pork, or that none of that stuff since a child, since like 15 years old. So that's like took 30 years or more. So that's not even nowhere in my body. But for me, the idea of killing animals, period. I don't sit too well with it. You know what I'm saying?
My daughter's a vegan. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I don't want to kill no animals. You know what I'm saying? They alive like I'm alive. They breathe air like I breathe, and that's a gift of God.
God said don't kill, right?
Yeah, who am I to take their life? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's fruits and vegetables.
Right. So in the beginning, in the world, we weren't meat eaters. Let me show you who's not a meat eater.
Not teeth.
No, the animals don't eat meat.
Yeah.
See, that to tell you something. A cow don't eat no meat.
Huh?
A goat don't eat no meat.
Oh yeah, true.
They eat vegetables, but they're vegetarians.
But gorillas don't eat
lions
meat.
And tigers eat meat.
That's different. We don't eat lions and tigers.
Shark eat meat.
But that's the point. So in the beginning, and God says in the beginning in the book Genesis, He says, "I make these trees and plants for food."
Vegetation,
for food. So we in the beginning we were actually vegetarians. We got away from that. You know,
because of the flood of Noah.
Yes.
Yeah, you know.
Right. That changed that. There's Noah. Right.
And that's been over with. So you know, it's back enough vegetation for me to eat, and I just don't want to I think about it, even when you said like killing the animal, we kill it fast or like no death.
So they don't
you
suffer.
know what I'm saying?
They don't suffer.
I'm going to suffer. You know what I'm saying?
No,
if you coming to take my life, you going to do it fast in my sleep or anything like that.
So if I take a knife and put it to your throat like this, what's going to happen? You're going to go into shock. You think I'm going to kill you, right? So the animal, we don't surprise. We just do that instantly so they don't get in shock. Because what happens when you kill the animal the other way?
They don't want to die though.
No, right, and they go into shock. So you eating the blood of something that's in shock.
No, they still don't want to die. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody wants to
die. Exactly.
That's why you surprise them.
But don't take their life. You know
but we are going to the vegan. If you can go down to the Village of Peace in Dimona, you can contact them. The Village of Peace in Israel, right? In Dimona, it was in the northern part of Israel where the black Hebrew Israelites, and they are vegan. No meat, no nothing. And as a matter of fact, in Israel, they have gotten the Israeli government to adopt the vegan way of life through their way of living their life, right? So the Village of Peace in Dimona. Israel, you Google it and you'll go to it and you will see the life in which the black Hebrew Israelites are living in Israel.
Yes.
In peace.
I'm definitely check that out.
Yes.
Is there anything that y'all would like to say to the people before we wrap the night up?
Let's make sure you stay tuned like, subscribe,
Definitely.
and donate to the channel as well.
Yeah.
One of the hottest shows in America.
Yeah.
Keep God first, and He work miracles in your life.
Absolutely. God always first.
Yes, and I little that, you know, I think we need to support stuff like this because it's important to get the word out there, irrespective of your belief,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
Because it's not just about the belief; it's the way in which you want to do and worship your God, and nobody can tell you how to worship your God, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we can't attack somebody because they're supposedly Christians or Muslims
Or Hindus.
Because I
Or
go to the
Buddhists.
Hindu temple, I go to the mosque, I go everywhere because we worshiping God, the same God, the God of Abraham. We're all the same God.
Absolutely. I can't begin to tell you guys how much I appreciate this platforms and us doing stuff like this that I know changes what's out there. You know what I'm saying? People will be able to now come and always look at this and have a better understanding. You know, that those that didn't even know that there are actual black Jews that exist. There's people that don't even know that that's something. Now they can look and they can see.
The American Jewish thing will tell you 20% of American Jews are black or people of color. It's right there in the stats. 20% of us are black in America that are Jews.
Yeah.
You'll never know that, but we are getting there. And we're going to be, very soon, we're going to be the majority of Jews in America.
Yeah.
Right? Because people are coming and then we got all these African people who, technically, my brother, I just want to say this to you. That because I'm helping the immigrants who are coming from Africa, from West Africa. And I asked them the question, right? How do you circumcise your boy? Muslims circumcise their boy on the 13th year because that's when Abraham circumcised Ishmael. So the 13 years.
Yeah.
When you ask every West African when they circumcise their boy on the 8th day.
Wow.
What's the 8th-day circumcision? It's a Jewish way of life. So technically, all those Africans, and I'm telling you what we have here, I just want to close with that. In Nigeria, we got 40 million Jews in Nigeria. 40 million. We got over 50 synagogues in Nigeria.
And I've been in Nigeria, but also there's a lot of white Jesus billboards as well.
Yeah, but we got that. Then when you go, then when you, but you see that was from colonialism. But then when you go to when you go to South Africa to Zimbabwe, when you go to all that, there is another 50 million black Jews that are there called the lumber Jews.
The lumber tribe.
And they trace their ancestry back to the land of Israel.
Yeah.
That came down. See, I tell this story, finally if you got time. When Moses was saying, let's get away from Pharaoh, right?
Yeah.
You think a lot of people wanted to kill, they wanted to attack Pharaoh. Man, to attack Moses. We ain't going with you. Guess what happened? Most of them didn't go. Guess where they went? Into Africa, into West Africa, into East Africa. That's why we're doing this DNA right now. I can trace almost every tribe in Africa back to being Hebrew Israelites. India, all those Jews in India, the Manasseh tribe.
Right.
In India, in Pakistan, even in Afghanistan, people of color that are Hebrew Israelites, right? And they speak Hebrew. So that's how we know. So the world is not this, they're looking at the Jews and Zionists as white. They're not. They're minority.
Yeah.
We're the majority.
Yes.
And we're not saying that we're the real Jew. We are just part of the 12 tribes
Of Israel.
of Israel. And the 12 tribes is everybody.
Yeah.
White folks, black folks, Indians, Chinese.
Asian,
We got Jews in China that we are developing. We all over the world because when God created what did he say? He said, I shall scatter you to the four corners of the earth.
Yeah.
So we in everywhere. It's just that we are lost tribes.
Yeah.
We're the lost tribes. right? And because of colonialism, they wouldn't let us practice our Judaism. And in Africa, the Islam came in and conquered our people.
Yeah.
And they became Muslims because they didn't want to.
By force.
By force.
Machetes or Uzis.
Yeah, right. But then they allow them practice. And I tell you this, I went to Senegal. In northern Senegal, they got a tribe. Guess what their name is? Bani Israel.
Wow.
But they're practicing Muslims. But we're in service, they speak Hebrew.
Wow.
But they don't want people to know they're the Muslims to know that they are actually Hebrew Israelites because they will be persecuted. And they want to change the name from Bani Israel, means son of Israel. So you find that all over Africa. So we have the word in Hebrew, shuveh, we shall return.
Yeah.
So we're asking people to return to the Most High God.
You know, before we end too, when I was growing up, Sammy Davis Jr. You know what I'm saying?
I know his cousin too.
Was he actually one of the first ones, I guess, up on it? Because I remember they said he was Jewish.
Yes.
And I remember as, you know, we little kids, we think, how is that possible? You know what I'm saying? You know, like.
Because again, originally, like I was explaining to you before about when the first slave came in, they were Israelites. They were the ones who were put into slavery in the beginning from not just West Africa. They came from the Moors, from Portugal and Spain during the Spanish Inquisition. Now I traced my ancestry back to Portugal with Columbus. Columbus took the ship and went to Jamaica in a place called Alligator Pond. And when I went to the diary, on Columbus' diary, I went to Lisbon, Portugal.
Wow.
The name of my family is in Columbus' diary that he took them as a Sephardic Jew from Portugal and brought them to Alligator Pond in Jamaica. And then when I traced back to the English now, because the English took over, I went to the gravesite. The gravesite of my ancestors had a Star of David on there and everything written in Hebrew.
Wow.
Right, so I know the history. We are the people. Black folks in America are Hebrew Israelites. Why? It's because you got to read. I ask everybody to read Deuteronomy chapter 28, where God says it is a prediction where He says, "Because you disobeyed me, prophecy, I shall curse you. But if you obey my laws, I will bless you." So in the end, He said, "I shall curse you." What did He say about us? He says, "I shall send you on ships to Egypt." When He said Egypt, He didn't mean physical Egypt where it is now. America is Egypt. I shall send you there to the land where the eagle flies. America. This is back way before America didn't even exist a place. And then He says, "You shall come in shackles."
Yeah.
Right? In chains. This is biblical prophecy.
Yeah.
Who else came and He said, to the islands of the sea and to the land where the eagle flies. Who else did that? Ain't nobody else but us.
Right.
I did a whole pulpit on it, if you actually.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. So we got to acknowledge that we are the people of the book. And eventually, because we were cursed, God says then you will be blessed. So that's why we as a people now, we're going to get our blessing from the Most High. Because we worship, whether you go to a Christian church or anything, you're still blessed. God bless you because He took us out of that bondage.
Yeah.
Right? They thought they would destroy us as a people, but we here because it's in the book. God said, "Well, you believe in me, I shall rescue you." Wow. And He have rescued us. You understand? So we got to really believe that.
Yes, absolutely.
We are the people of the book.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I can't begin to tell everyone this was definitely enlightening. Again, much respect to my two brothers right here. You know what I'm saying? Deacon David, Rabbi Garth, you know what I'm saying? We got to do this again. It's not like we can't do one show that get all the information out to the people. But now this will be a good introduction for people to know exactly.
And I just want to say, my uncle is Harry Belafonte, right?
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, right? Yeah. Died at 96. My mother just died at 96. Both of them the same, right? And
Colin Powell as well.
Right, Colin Powell. So I have real relatives. And Harry Belafonte is a Hebrew, is a Jew,
Yeah.
right? He wrote most of the Jewish songs that is sung in Israel, Havana and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he speaks both Hebrew and Yiddish.
Mm.
Right, and that's my uncle. So that we grew up in that background. Just want you to know.
Wow, yeah, that's good information. Yeah, that's
Yes.
legacy right there.
Yes.
All right, much I could say is see y'all next time. Much love. You know, we definitely appreciate the support. Tune in, like, subscribe.
Yeah.